some point. Somebody's going to get sick. Somebody's going to end up injured. Somebody, in your extended family is going to need your attention and your care, maybe a parent or somebody like that. You've got an event where maybe you lose a job. Maybe there are just so many things that can happen. And when you have that pantry stocked, it just really acts as that insurance policy of like, hey, whatever happens, we know we've got food in the pantry.
Welcome to Everyday Homesteading, the show for busy families who want more self-sufficiency without burning out. I'm Josh.
And I'm Carolyn from Homesteading Family. And in every episode, we share time-tested knowledge on topics from growing and preserving your food to raising livestock to herbal medicine and anything homesteading in between.
Let's jump in.
Well, here we are. It's fall for real.
Yeah, it is.
The weather is cold. The pantry is stuffed full. It's starting to smell like apples and onions and like preserved things, which is just amazing. I bet you guys know exactly what smell I'm talking about. And it's kind of the smell of the shifting season where all of a sudden everything's starting to change a little bit. And I realize we're putting up the last of some of the produce right now. And it's at this point of the year that I start to kind of go, okay, exhale a little bit, start to catch my breath.
Oh, good.
And yet there's always this part of me that kind of wonders, like, did we do enough? Did we put up enough? And I think that's like a question that we all ask ourselves as homesteaders when we get to this time of year. Like, we're happy, everything's tucked into jars, everything's ready for the winter, and yet did we do enough? So if you're wondering if you did enough, this episode is definitely for you, because we're going to be talking about how we kind of prioritize filling the pantry and getting to this point of the year and the peaceful rhythms that go along with that. But before we dive into that, a little bit of chit chat.
Yeah. What's going on with you?
Oh, well, just that. It is the wrap up of harvest season here. Here we're November, and it's, we're kind of wrapping a lot of things up. We still have a couple butchering days ahead of us.
Oh, yeah.
But it's been busy, and I'm ready for a slower season, I have to say. This has been a really busy season. And with the wedding behind us and things kind of slowing down, we're kind of getting to a point where we can take a breath a little bit and calm down. I'm looking forward to that kind of shift to the winter pace.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
Yeah. Oh, same. It's just still gearing up for getting ready for winter and getting the animals tucked into the barn and getting our systems all dialed in.
Yep.
So here, hopefully by Thanksgiving, we'll be tucked in and put away, and chores shift and they shorten, and definitely the whole pace changes. So we're just kind of wrapping up those details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. We've got lots of pig butchering.
Yeah, we do 8 hogs this year. We've never done that many. Yeah, but we've got older kids that are out but still want to participate. So we're now raising kind of for multi-family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Multi-households, you would say. I think we've got food going into 3 households this year.
That's kind of a new thing here.
Especially for chickens, which are done and taken care of, and pork. So it's going to be a big process.
All of those kids, I think, are coming to help for that process.
Oh, yeah. No, it's still it's got to be a family effort.
Joint effort.
Yeah. So, that's going to be the big closeout before Thanksgiving.
Woohoo.
It's really getting those hogs in.
That's exciting.
Hopefully we get all the sausage done before Thanksgiving. That's my goal. I don't know if
we'll try.
We'll be able to do that, but we'll at least get them cut up, hung, bacon curing, hams curing. Yeah, we're going to do a lot more hams. I'm excited this year.
Yeah.
A lot more salt cured hams. Yep.
That's exciting. We did a video for you guys, I think, last year on our sausage making. So that's exciting. Maybe we'll have to do another one on bacon curing. That would be good at some point, because I don't think we've done one on that. But yeah, we've got some fun. What we have going for us this year is that we have all of our recipes dialed in. So last year we had to slow down, decide which ones we wanted to do, and we kind of dialed in our recipes that we really like, unless you have adjustments you want to make.
No, well, especially towards kind of the bratwurst idea, because we've had our breakfast sausages and our Italian sausages kind of staples, but last year we really decided we like so much of the just easy to pull out, stick on one of the barbecue forks and cook. And so, so we experimented, did a whole round of making all these new recipes for different styles. I mean, bratwurst is such a general term, but different flavors of brats, all the way from Asian to wild gamey one. We've got some good stuff. It's fun.
Every single variety. It really does, but every single one we pull out, I'm like, oh, I think this is my favorite. And then the next one I pull out, I was like, no, this one's my favorite. And it's like whichever one I'm eating is my favorite. We actually got all those recipes together for you guys into a download or something like that. So we'll link that and the video where we actually walk you through doing that
very cool.
in the show notes here. But that's
Spicy Wild.
Spicy Wild.
That's my favorite.
Okay, you're a one favorite. Like that is your.
Well, they're all good. I gotta say, I think that you like the Asian one is one of your tops, and dumpling. That's probably my least in this case. But but they're all great.
They are all good. They are all really good. Yep. So you got to check that out. So you'll know what we'll be doing coming up in the next few weeks. We will be sausaging and baconing and hamming it up.
Hamming it up.
We'll be hamming it up. Well, before we jump into filling our pantries and talking about that, we need to say thank you for today's sponsor.
Yeah, thank you, Azure. Azure Standard is a sponsor of the day. They've helped bring this episode to you. And so thanks. They've been around for a bit, and they are a staple for us. If we don't grow it or raise it, they're often our first go-to.
A lot of the things that we have to buy in because of that, because we're not growing it or raising it, we just buy from Azure, and we have for years, many, many years. So a lot of the foods, if you see store-bought bucket, I don't know if you can see if you're watching on video, buckets behind us and cans of tomatoes because we don't grow enough tomatoes still. And
olive oil,
different things like that. We're bringing that all in from Azure Standard. We're going to be talking about filling your bulk pantry a little bit today too. And you can know that when we're talking about that, we're getting our stuff from Azure Standard.
Yeah, and if you're, looking to take some steps in your pantry, you're inspired today, know that Azure has, for our listeners, a discount. You can save 15% on your first purchase of $100 or more, and you just need to use the coupon code HomesteadingFamily15, all one word. And that'll get you that 15% off your first. And thank you, Azure. Thanks for partnering with us. Thanks for helping so many of us out here that are not just trying to raise our own food, but source good quality food from people that we trust and like, not just the mega corporations. So very thankful for everybody at Azure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So here we are this time of year. It's fall. We're getting tucked in here for winter, and I think it's that time of year where everybody starts to ask, did I do enough? Did I get enough food tucked up?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a normal question. We've worked hard all year. We're kind of asking ourselves the same things, do we get it in and we get what we need? But I think it's not necessarily about how full these pantry shelves look. Is it enough for your family?
Yeah.
Right? Is it going to get you through? And visual full, I think, is, a way that we assess that, but that's not necessarily, we need to just know, is it enough, right? Are we going to get through the winter?
There's a lot of things over the years that we've stopped doing. And I think this is something that's really easy to do, is like trying to scramble and put everything up that you can. And over the years, we've realized that is not actually a sustainable method for surviving just year to year into actually living. And so there's a lot of things that we don't do anymore. So we're going to be talking about that today, because we're really talking about, filling your pantry without driving yourself crazy, trying to do it all and try to, make it actually work for your family.
Yeah.
So before we jump into that, like why, for people who are kind of new to this concept, when we have a grocery store around the corner, why are we worried about filling our pantry before winter to begin with?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think for me, there's a lot of economic benefit, right? We're bulk buying. So that means we're generally getting a better price per unit, right? We're not running around all winter. So we're saving gas, fuel, that's savings. We're saving time. We can put our time into something else. So, that would be one angle that I would have, be the economist in the household. It's just, I love the savings of it. And I think, we can talk about winter weather, the garden, we can talk about what's going on in the world, all these things that are good reasons to stock up, but at a baseline, there's just a good economics.
Yeah.
It's just good household management, I think I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a really good reason. I think another reason for me, you kind of touched on it, is when you just are in the yearly habit of filling up your pantry for what you need to get through to the next year, you kind of end up in a situation of living prepared.
Yeah.
And that, when we talk about living prepared, we're not necessarily talking about, the end of the world as we know it. We're talking about real life happening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have events like, COVID events where things are off the shelf. And, we all hope that that's not a common occurrence, that that's a one-off sort of thing. But, and those things can happen. But what is kind of like sure that it's going to happen is that your life is going to go off the rails at some point. Somebody's going to get sick. Somebody's going to end up injured. Somebody, in your extended family is going to need your attention and your care, maybe a parent or somebody like that. You've got an event where maybe you lose a job. Maybe there are just so many things that can happen. And when you have that pantry stocked, it just really acts as that insurance policy of like, hey, whatever happens, we know we've got food in the pantry. So it's kind of living prepared.
Well, and I think in tying in that living prepared, and yet we're talking about winter. Winter is the natural time to think about this and talk about this because it's harvest season or going into winter, right? We're harvesting. It's the natural flow of an annual season of the animals have been fattened on the land. You don't want to carry them through the winter. Obviously, your produce that you've got to get in. And so it's a natural time. But I think I want to make sure and say that while we're kind of talking about this in context of going into winter, we really want to think about it in terms of exactly what you said, living prepared. Mm-hmm. This is a season to focus on it, but we want our pantry prepared all year, right? Mm-hmm. As we go into this. So just really walking through this idea with living prepared, not just getting prepared for winter.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's always good to have your stores built up, right?
Yeah.
So that you have different things. But, at its core, it's really about peace. Like, it's about the peace of not having to run to town for groceries. It's about the restfulness of knowing that, hey, if mom's sick, she can put her feet up because we've got food, set there that everybody can.
Meals, right?
Freeze-dried meals,
easy to, easy to get on the table for somebody.
Yeah, so it's about rest. It's also about stewardship and taking good care of the things that we have. You're growing food, or maybe you have farmers in the area who are growing food, or maybe you're still just going to the grocery store and you're seeing like, oh, wow, look, this week tomatoes are on sale because, because there's so many, because they're in season, and taking advantage of that and being a good steward of what we have around us.
Absolutely.
I kind of alluded to this, but for a lot of years, especially when we started getting homesteading, one, we were really broke when we started homesteading. Our family was growing quickly. There were a lot of people to feed. And I just kind of got into this mode that I need to get every scrap of food that I can get, and I need to figure out how to preserve it. And so I was preserving, looking back, I was preserving things our family wouldn't even eat, that like in my mind, it's just like, get the food, get it in jars, get it on the shelf. And I kind of drove myself a little bit crazy doing it.
Well, when you're getting started, you often try to replicate the grocery store, right? That's kind of your default because that's what you know.
Yeah.
You're used to going to the grocery store, buying stuff. So it's easy when you're in that position in those early years, or for anybody here getting started, to just think you've got to replicate.
And make it look exactly like it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a trap.
Yeah, it really is because, you just start chasing food preservation for the sake of food preservation instead of food preservation to take care of your family. And I remember this one moment where I was big and pregnant. We were in Bonita Vista, so I would imagine that was with maybe Abigail. Maybe I was pregnant with
our fifth. Fourth or fifth, yeah. And we were doing a fair amount by then.
We were doing a lot of gardening, and I was kind of in that mode of like, I have to make use of every single bit of food that comes in. And so I can remember this moment of being so exhausted because I had just been pushing so hard. And I ended up deciding that I needed to pressure can all the greens. Like, don't do this in your life. Pressure canned greens are not even good. So it's like, find a better option or just enjoy them in season. But, here I was kind of in this mode, And I ended up until like past midnight trying to pressure can this batch of greens that I had. And the next morning I got out of bed and I was so exhausted from doing that. I couldn't even stay out of bed all day. I had to keep going back to bed because I was actually getting physically sick trying to be up because I was just so determined that I needed to get all this food into jars. We have to be careful, especially when you're in the beginning years of just starting to preserve food and just starting to build your pantry. We have to be careful not to sink ourselves with this mentality of we just have to do it all.
Yeah.
You know, focus on a few things. If all you're doing is putting up enough jelly to get through the winter, you know, jams and jellies, that's great. That's a huge step forward. If it's a food that your family's actually going to eat and you now don't have to go to the grocery store and buy it. So, you know, don't feel like you have to do it all. Don't feel that your pantry has to look like we're sitting in front of here.
Yeah.
You know, this is many years in for us. But do start being really practical about what are you actually going to eat?
Yeah.
What can you stop buying if you actually put it up? And start focusing on just a few things that you can get done.
You're hearing from two people that have, you know, maybe gone at it the hard way,
Right, yeah.
you know, and have felt that pressure to be up and, you know, trying to be good stewards, trying to save every penny. And, you know, those things are all important. We want to be good stewards. We want to do well with our resources. But we see a lot of homestead burnout because people go all in so hard. They're not necessarily being a good steward of their own energy, you know, your own really physical capability or your own emotional state. And so I think that's such good wisdom that, you know, we've got to temper this drive. You know, I like to say I've never known a homesteader that isn't a hard worker, isn't willing to go at it hard. I think sometimes we actually need to work smart, you know, not just hard. And this means being okay, not doing it all and being a little more strategic.
Right.
And so let's talk about that, about how to start approaching stocking a pantry here, and you know, some of the core things to think this way and think a little more strategic, not just
exactly.
I gotta do it all. I gotta can greens in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Definitely don't can greens in the middle of the night. That's the first thing I'm just going to tell you. Like, no greens.
Don't can greens.
Don't can
you got
greens.
Dehydrators. You got other ways to do
You have other ways
anyways.
to deal with greens, or a freezer or something.
During the day.
During your very high energy hours. But yeah, so one of the things that we like to start with is our bulk buys. You know, stocking your pantry doesn't have to be all things that you have actually grown and preserved yourself. But sometimes the best place to start, actually, oftentimes the best place to start is to start replacing the things that you're already buying from the grocery store regularly with a bulk version of that. Start, you know, stocking 25 pounds of rice instead of little 1 pound bags. You know, your flours, the things that you're baking with.
Sure. Flours, your grains, if you're getting to that point, if you need to start with flour, but, you know, start making bread. You know, it's a different discussion, but making things from scratch. And so start with flour because that's an easy entry, right? Then eventually you can go to grains, beans, salt. Buy bulk and salt. Salt's kind of expensive. You want a good quality salt, so buy it in bulk. Friends over at Redmond have got great sorts. Oils we were talking about, you know, olive oil. You can buy those in bulk.
Yeah. And, you know, we have videos all on really helping you get into the nitty gritty of how to handle bulk food, how to buy it, the things that we make sure we keep stocked all the time. So we'll put links for you in the show description. But just know that filling your pantry doesn't have to be all slaving over a canner or dehydrator or, you know, even getting food into the freezer, that you can make a huge difference in your pantry by just switching how you're purchasing your food. And on top of that, you start saving money. Now, we've talked about a few places, the challenge of starting to bulk buy.
Well, and one of the things is to keep it simple, right? You have a note in here about, you know, when we go to the grocery store, we've got all this variety.
Yeah.
So we can buy a box of this kind of little, I don't know, rice-a-roni, whatever else comes to mind, but we can get like 4 different things, right? And that's nice, but when you start doing your pantry, you might want to kind of go to the basics, right? And buy 1 or 2 kinds of beans, not 5 or 6 kinds of beans.
Yeah.
Right? Find the ones that you guys like the most. And that kind of simplifying when you get into stocking this pantry, especially when you're starting out.
I'll tell you, I still fall into that trap. I will bulk buy things that then it takes us like 5 years to get through. I'm looking at the garbanzo beans right in front of me. It's like
but none of us are that excited.
Nobody really likes garbanzo beans. I do like hummus.
Or no?
I just like hummus. And so I thought, oh, we'll make hummus every week. And it turns out nobody else in the family likes hummus that much to eat it every week. And so we weren't really going through it. And so that's great. Those garbanzo beans will sit on that shelf for 25 years and store just fine. And I will slowly get through them.
We'll have a little hummus once in a while.
Hopefully before 25 years. But to your point, like narrow down on the things you really do eat.
Which is being realistic. I think that's the other part. We got to self-audit again. Right. And we got to be realistic.
Yeah.
On that. You can take one thing and then you can actually make variety out of different seasonings, different meats, different vegetables, especially when it comes to these bulk items.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, but you do want to be looking for those things that are really flexible. I mean, your sweetener, your sugar, like you put that in all sorts of things, right? That is a great thing. The salts that you're talking about, the oils, just those things that you're just reaching for over and over again. It costs a little bit more to get started in bulk buying because you're buying a whole bunch at once, but the savings on the other side is actually incredibly large. I actually did a comparison of like per unit if I went and got the cheapest sugar at the grocery store versus good quality organic sugar in bulk. It was like the organic sugar per unit price compared to the grocery store sugar was still like 5 times cheaper to get the super high quality.
Don't you love that? What I love about that is it's not only economic, you're getting something, I mean, we're talking sugar, so to say it's healthier, okay, I get it. Somebody's going to go, what? Right. But it is. It's a better product for a less expensive price when you start operating this way on so many things.
Yeah.
And I think, can we mention real quick before we go on, because I know we're going to talk about home preserved foods, that you don't have to just think about this in big bags of beans or flour or grains, but you touched on it earlier, tomatoes, canned goods. Maybe you're not there growing enough yet or shopping the farmers markets yet. And so vegetables like aren't even on your radar. But you can still buy those things, whether it's from somewhere like Azure, Costco, even wherever it is, you can buy those things in bulk that you use regularly. And for us, one of them is tomatoes because we don't grow tomatoes in volume very well here. Yeah. Might be different for you guys, but remembering that don't limit it just to thinking of the big bags of stuff.
Right.
Right. There's lots of canned goods and even box goods that you can still buy in bulk and stock your pantry and save money and even get a better quality product.
Yeah, that's a really good thought there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have some basics built up of our pantry staples. Now we start filling in with our home preserved foods.
Right.
Okay, so we're talking about the things that you're freezing, the things you're canning, the things you're fermenting, dehydrating, freeze drying, like the things that you're actively preserving.
Yeah.
And these are the things that we fill in by what's really good and available seasonally. So, if you're gardening, that's great. That's where this really goes. Like start putting this food in. If you're raising livestock, that's another place. You're getting meat into the freezer. Maybe you're canning or freeze drying a little meat. That's really good too.
Yeah.
But, these home preserved foods are really the opportunistic, like, what is around me. They're what you put up when you get the great buy at the grocery store, if that's where you're shopping. They're what you put up in season when you have a good relationship with people at the farmer's market and you get really good deals on that. They're definitely what you put up if you have excess in your garden.
Right.
But that's kind of tucking in the edges of your food there.
Yeah. There. And find preservation methods that are approachable for you.
Yeah.
Right? Dehydration might be a more approachable way than, say, freeze drying to get started. Right. Nothing wrong with that. You can do a lot with dehydrating. You can do a lot with even water bath canning. Yeah. And then eventually step up to the more complex ones. But I think that's just as important for people to realize you don't have to can, freeze dry, freeze, dehydrate, ferment, find something that is accessible to you as you start to do more home preservation, tackle those things, and then you can build more skills and more different types of things.
Yeah, and it's okay. You don't have to do it all. Again, sometimes we get this mindset, especially as homesteaders, that's like, I have to learn all the different methods of preservation, otherwise I'm not a real homesteader, right? Like that's a really easy mindset, especially if you spend any time on Pinterest or Instagram and like everybody has all the perfect pictures. But the reality is getting food put aside is getting food put aside.
Yeah.
And as long as it's something your family's going to enjoy and eat later in the season, then it totally counts.
Yeah.
Even if it's all dehydrated, that's okay. Yep. That counts. Yep. You can do that.
One other quick tip, I know we got to keep moving on home preserved foods, is definitely look for bulk buy. Like if you're going to start preserving, but you can't grow enough, you can even ask the grocery store to buy in box, right? You can talk to your farmers markets and your growers, and maybe they'll give you a deal on box produce that's fresh, but they also might have seconds and things that aren't as pretty. And that's definitely how Carolyn started in the early years, you know. So that's a little bit of that strategy and working with our mind to find ways to preserve food that you can actually get a deal on, but it's fresh fruit even if you can't grow it all.
Yeah, that's a really good tip.
Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of put your your home preserved food into place, but then here's something that we have found. This is kind of the third level of filling your pantry.
And this is definitely diving into like generally growing your own here.
Usually you'd be growing your own for this, but this is like our secret weapon now. And this is something I'm leaning on more and more, and it's allowing me a lot more peace and a lot less scramble over the food preservation. And that's really leaning on the things that can be, root-cellared. I hate to use that term because instantly as soon as I say root-cellar, people go,
think you need a root cellar.
I don't have a root cellar yet.
We've been at this over 20 years. We still don't have a proper root cellar.
We don't have a root cellar.
And we're eating root crops, squashes, some things we're going to talk about all through the winter. And even honestly, gosh, we were eating carrots into like May this year.
Yeah.
You know, without a proper root cellar stored from last year.
Yeah.
So this is really big.
We don't even really have something that is like a good makeshift root cellar. We have what we're using, and we've really just looked around our house and found the best possible location to store these things, and we're doing that well. And that includes things like coolers of apples out in the uninsulated garage. So you don't need fancy stuff. So don't hear this and like check out and be like, well, I don't have a root cellar. You don't need an actual root cellar. But the idea behind this is that there is actually a lot of produce out there that stores itself if you can keep it a little bit cool and a little bit damp.
Yeah. So just real quick, let's talk root crops. We've got potatoes in here, but really potatoes, carrots, beets, parsnips, turnips if you like them.
Rutabagas.
Rutabagas. There's a few things. They're easy to grow.
Yeah.
You harvest them once at the end of the season and you store them. You know, wash them, you got to cut the greens off. They're very, very easy. They're very nutritious. And they're easy to store.
Yeah.
And they're easy to grow.
Yeah.
They're not, they're just not fussy. Maybe some of them getting started. So, think about those kind of, not all of them I'm going to say are super calorie rich, but they're all filling. And they all have a good place in the pantry, and they don't take very much work. They just take a little bit of space.
Yeah, absolutely. Other things that fit into that maybe aren't a root crop, but still store the same way, are things like winter squash. That's something, whether it's pumpkins or other types of winter squash, think butternut or anything like that, you harvest them.
Yeah.
And you lay them out in a place with a little bit of air, and then you keep them from freezing, and they preserve themselves.
And you guys, they sit around our house.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of them. They become decoration in the fall. But some of them go into the basement.
Yeah.
But a lot of them sit around the house, and you pull off of them as you need them, And of course, there's a whole conversation about consumption, what to consume first.
Right.
I don't know that we have time for that today, but definitely, it's another one that they're pretty, they're beautiful, and they can sit around your house, and and you can make pretty stacks of them, and you pull off of them. I think it's cool.
It makes me really happy to decorate my house with food.
Yeah.
Like that's just a win in my book.
Oh, yeah. You're living in your grocery store, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Other things like this are going to be your onions, your garlic, stuff like that. They can sit for a really long time if you have a nice cool area that you can keep them in, just in a basket. And then you have things like winter apples, some of the nice hard apples that'll store all the way through winter, and even storage pears. I was actually just at our local general store, and they had bulk storage pears that were unsprayed. And, those, again, they will sit in a cooler. They will just ripen slowly into the winter, and you get to have fresh fruit all winter long.
Can I throw another one in?
Yeah.
This is cured meats. We're going to do 8 hogs. That's a lot of bacon.
Yeah.
It's all going to hang in the kitchen or in the cellar. Doesn't have to go in the freezer. I mean, maybe we'll slice some once it cures and put it in the freezer because the bacon gets hard over time. But hams, there is a lot you can do. And this is a little more advanced, but for those of you that are raising animals, but you want to make less work, it's a lot of work to do the cut, wrap, freeze. That takes energy. And not that we don't do that. We do a ton of that. But you can also salt cure meats very, very easily.
Yeah.
And put up a lot of that food. Pork's the easiest, for a variety of reasons. But I just want to get that into that, that's not quite fresh storage, but it is, if you're harvesting an animal, it's less work to salt cure it,
right,
put it up, and you can hang it. You don't have to have a particular environment. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a freezer. You don't have to have a root cellar.
Well, I mean, we have hams hanging in our kitchen.
Yeah, we have hams hanging in our kitchen.
Yeah.
Bacon's hanging in our kitchen and in the pantry.
Yep.
And so that's something to learn, but just wanted you guys to know on the meat side, there are a lot of options.
Getting all that food in is really important, really good, but I've got to say, the rhythms that come with that are actually one of the most important things here. Making sure that you start shopping your pantry before you go to the grocery store and starting to use the food.
Yeah.
Managing those stores by looking at them every week and making sure they're in good shape. That's just something you just need to get into your daily rhythm, your weekly rhythm around your homestead.
Right.
Living with that peace and that pattern, enjoying what you've done, but then having that rhythmic pattern with it is super important. That
attention is also not just enjoyable and peaceful. I mean, to come in and go, wow, okay, we're looking pretty good here, feeling pretty good. It's also just good management, and it helps you learn as you're doing that, by checking in regularly and thinking, not just pulling stuff off the shelf, which is what I think you're alluding to, but a little more thought. And that helps you realize what's working. Hey, we're ended up with more of this and less of that. And so you just naturally start to think about the next year and planning, and that improves your skill when it comes to building and managing this prepared pantry.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So if you guys are interested in creating this kind of peaceful rhythm throughout your year, that's exactly what we actually talk about over in the Homestead Kitchen membership, where we actually walk you through creating these systems and creating that peaceful kind of non-overwhelming movement throughout the year that ends up with a full pantry and an active homestead. So you may want to go check that out. If you're interested, go check it out at homesteadingfamily.com/podcast-membership.
And I'm going to add, there's an amazing community there as well of like-minded people to walk alongside as you're building these skills and walking this road.
Hey, you guys, it's been great hanging out with you.
Yeah.
Fun to get to chat, and we'll see you real soon.
See you soon.
Okay, bye.